Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, bring you those really impactful insights from some of the world's most influential sources. Today, we're plunging into a book that, well, it's nearly a century old, but it still fundamentally shapes how millions of us connect.
That's right. We're talking Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Came out in 1937, believe it or not. And yeah, started small, just 5,000 copies initially. But wow, it just exploded, became this international phenomenon. And it's stuck around, hasn't faded like a fad.
It really has stuck around. Carnegie himself, he used to joke it was easier to make $1 million than actually get a phrase into the English language. Yet, his book did just that. So our mission for you today, we want to pull out those truly timeless nuggets from this classic, give you a shortcut, sort of, to understanding these core principles of human relations. And not just as, like, a list of rules, but more as a whole new way of looking at things, at life.
Okay, so when we think about improving how we interact, a lot of us probably think first about, what should we do? What actions to take? But Carnegie, interestingly, he starts with what not to do. And honestly, it might be one of the hardest things for us.
Oh, absolutely. His very first principle is just so direct. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Simple, right, but so hard. Carnegie's point is that criticism, well, it's pretty much futile. It hardly ever changes someone's mind, and worse, it almost always stirs up resentment. I mean, just think about it for a second. When someone criticizes you, what's your first gut reaction? Yeah, you immediately put your walls up, right?
Yeah.
You want to defend yourself, explain why you did what you did. It's instant.
Exactly. A defensive crouch, as you put it. So Carnegie uses some pretty striking examples to show this. Even notorious criminals, guys like Two Gun Crowley, a killer, or Al Capone, public enemy number one, even they didn't blame themselves. They actually saw their actions as justified, sometimes even, beneficial. If they don't see themselves as wrong, why would your average person respond well to criticism in everyday life?
That's a really powerful point. If someone doing truly bad things can rationalize it, then yeah, that minor critique about a report at work, it's definitely going to hit that same wall of self-justification.
And it's not just theory. He points to Abraham Lincoln. Apparently, when Lincoln was younger, he liked to write these ridiculing letters. Got him challenged to a duel once.
Wow, a duel. Seriously?
Seriously. Nearly fatal. Taught him a huge lesson, though. Later, during the Civil War, massive pressure. General Meade messes up at Gettysburg, doesn't pursue Lee's army. Lincoln drafts this absolutely scathing letter, just rips into him. But he never sent it.
He didn't send it. Why not?
He realized it wouldn't actually achieve anything productive. It would just, in his words, arouse hard feelings, impair all his further usefulness. He saw the bigger picture, the relationship, the goal.
That's incredible self-control.
Yeah.
Especially under that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
To pull back from just venting that frustration.
It really is. It shows that understanding of long-term impact. And it's not just historical figures. There's this editorial called Father Forgets. It's quite moving, actually. It's about a dad regretting, constantly finding fault with his kid, realizing his nagging came from his own expectations, not really about the kid's behavior or a lack of love. Hits home,
Yeah. So often our complaints are really about us, aren't they? Our standards, our stress.
Oh.
Okay, so if criticism is basically a dead end, what's the alternative? How do we build people up instead?
And that's exactly the next step. Carnegie flips it. Give honest and sincere appreciation. He talks about this deep, fundamental human need. John Dewey, the philosopher, called it the desire to be important. William James called it the craving to be appreciated. It's like this hunger we all have.
The desire to be important. Yeah, that resonates. But how do we tell the difference between, like, genuine appreciation and just flattery or stroking someone's ego? Is there a line?
Carnegie is super clear on this. He slams flattery, calls it cheap, insincere, counterfeit. Flattery is telling people what they already think about themselves, usually because you want something. True appreciation, though, that comes from the heart. It's genuine, unselfish. It's about actually seeing the good in someone and saying it.
Okay, that distinction's vital. It's manipulation versus real connection. Makes sense.
And the effect of real appreciation, it can be massive. I think Charles Schwab again, that guy earning over $1 million a year back in the early 1900s.
Yeah, the steel guy.
Right. He flat out said his success wasn't just his steel knowledge, it was his ability to arouse enthusiasm in his people. How? Through appreciation and encouragement. He praised people generously and hated finding fault. He believed criticism crushes ambition.
$1 million salary, driven by people skills.
Wow.
That really challenges the idea that it's all about technical know-how, doesn't it?
It totally does. And then you have the flip side. Carnegie tells this story about a farm woman. She felt like her family was just, quote, eating hay.
Eating hay. Why?
Because in 20 years, she'd never once heard a word of appreciation for her cooking. 20 years. Think about that. Something so simple.
Oh, that's rough. It really shows how easy it is to just take people for granted, especially those closest to us. We forget to say thanks.
We do, but the positive impact is just as striking. Another story. A wife asks her husband to list 6 things she could improve about herself. Kind of a loaded question, right?
Uh-oh. Yeah, sounds like a trap.
Right. But instead of listing things, he sends her 6 red roses and a note saying, I can't think of 6 things I would like to change about you. I love you the way you are.
Nice move.
She was apparently almost in tears, said it was the most considerate thing she'd ever heard. That sincerity, that specific appreciation, it transformed the moment.
That's lovely. And you see it elsewhere, too, like that story about Stevie Wonder. A teacher noticed his talented ear.
Exactly. Not just empty praise, but specific recognition. He credits that moment, that teacher's appreciation, as the start of his whole musical journey. It changed his life.
So, okay, we avoid criticism. We give genuine appreciation. What about actually, like, building new connections?
Yeah.
Making people like us from the get-go?
Right. This is where Carnegie focuses on outward focus. Become genuinely interested in other people. It's his next big principle. He basically says you'll make more friends in 2 months by being interested in others than you would in 2 years trying to get others interested in you.
2 months versus 2 years. That's a big difference.
It is. And think about this. The New York Telephone Company did a study. They listened to 500 phone calls. Guess which word was used the most?
Hello. No, wait. Based on what you just said, I.
Bingo, I. Used 3,900 times in just 500 conversations. 3,900. It just shows how naturally self-focused we are.
Wow. That's a lot of I. Okay, so shifting that focus outward, being interested in them, that's the key. Seems simple, but maybe not easy.
Well, Carnegie uses a really simple, almost pure example, his childhood dog, Rex.
A dog?
Yeah. He said Rex made his living just by giving love. Pure, unadulterated joy just seeing Carnegie. That sheer, genuine interest. Dogs are great at that, aren't they?
They really are. Unconditional interest.
Oh.
Okay, so how does that translate to people?
Look at Theodore Roosevelt. He was famous for it. His valet, James Amos, told stories about how Roosevelt didn't just know his name, but his wife's name, too. He'd ask about them. He even remembered Alice, the kitchen maid, and her specific cornbread. He'd compliment her on it. Made everyone feel seen, valued. They loved him for it.
That's more than just being polite, isn't it?
Right.
That's real engagement. Remembering details, asking questions. It takes effort.
It absolutely does. Another great story. Charles R. Walters needed info from this really busy, hard-to-reach bank president. Couldn't get anywhere. Then he found out the president's young son, like 12 years old, collected stamps.
Stamps, okay.
So Walters shows up at the next meeting with stamps for the son. Totally changed the dynamic. What was supposed to be a quick, formal interview turned into this hour-long chat. The president talked stamps, was totally engaged, and then personally made sure Walters got all the business information he needed, all because Walters showed interest in his passion.
That's brilliant. Finding that personal hook completely changed the interaction.
Yeah.
Bypassed the whole business facade.
Exactly. And one more, C.M. Naffel, a fuel salesman. He disliked this one chain store executive personally, and unsurprisingly couldn't sell him anything for years, just hit a wall.
Okay, familiar story.
So he changed his whole approach. He went to the executive, but not to sell fuel. Instead, he asked for the executive's help.
Help with what?
He said he was preparing for a debate defending chain stores, something the executive was passionate about and needed advice. Showed genuine interest in the guy's expertise. The executive talked for ages, totally lit up, and then, without even being asked, offered to buy fuel from Naffel. He was amazed that Naffel made more progress in 2 hours by being interested than in 10 years of trying to sell.
Wow, that's turning it completely on its head. Focus on them, not your product.
Okay, so being interested is key. And that seems linked to another point you mentioned, something simple but powerful.
Yes, absolutely connected. Carnegie's next principle. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
Ah, the name thing. It feels so basic, but yeah. Hearing your own name, it definitely gets your attention. It really does. It's like the simplest, most effective compliment you can pay someone. It says, I see you. Think about Jim Farley, Postmaster General, big political figure, didn't have a lot of formal education, but he built his entire career partly on remembering thousands of names. He knew that your own name matters more to you than pretty much anything else. He'd send out personal Dear Bill or Dear Jane letters. Made a huge difference.
Thousands of names. That's impressive. But it makes sense. We all know that feeling when someone forgets our name, right? Especially if we told them. It stings a little.
It does. And the opposite is true, too. Sid Levy, another salesman example, he had this customer, Nicodemus Papadoulos. Challenging name, right?
Yeah, definitely a mouthful.
Most people just called him Nick. But Levy made the effort, learned it, used the full name correctly. The customer, Mr. Papadoulos, was apparently almost in tears. Said that in 15 years living there, Levy was the first person who bothered to learn his real name. It meant the world to him. It validated his identity.
Gosh, that's really touching. Just taking a moment to get it right. Shows respect.
Huge respect. And it works strategically, too. Andrew Carnegie, the other Carnegie, named one of his big steel mills the Edgar Thomson Steel Works.
After who?
After Edgar Thomson, the president of the Pennsylvania Railroad. Guess who bought a lot of steel rails from that mill?
Huh. Smart move. Flattering, but also good business.
Very smart. Even Franklin D. Roosevelt, incredibly busy guy, right? Known for remembering names. Mechanics working on his car, staff. He knew them, used their names, sent thank you notes. There's a story about a cafeteria worker named Eunice who always seemed grumpy. Once someone started using her name, greeting her personally, she totally changed. Became friendly, generous, pile on extra ham.
Just by using her name. That's like, as Carnegie said, a little piece of magic in that sound. Okay, this is all great for building rapport, but now let's get into the really tough stuff, influence. How do we actually get people to agree with us, especially when there's disagreement? This feels like the next level.
It definitely is. And Carnegie's first piece of advice here is probably the most counterintuitive for a lot of us. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it.
Avoid it. But what if you're right? Don't you need to make your point?
That's the instinct, isn't it? But Carnegie argues an argument is basically a battle of egos. Even if you technically win, prove you're right, you often lose something much bigger. Goodwill. The other person feels attacked, resentful.
Yeah.
Ben Franklin put it perfectly. If you argue and rankle and contradict, you may achieve a victory sometimes, but it will be an empty victory. You win the battle, lose the war.
An empty victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. You feel smug for a second, but you probably just push them further away. Why is that urge to argue, to be right, so strong, though?
Oh, it's that ego again, that need for validation. Carnegie himself tells a story about being at this dinner party in London. Some guy misquoted Shakespeare.
Oh, the classic actually moment.
Exactly. And Carnegie couldn't resist. He corrected the guy publicly. His friend literally kicked him under the table. Later, the friend told him off. Why prove to a man he is wrong? Is that going to make him like you? Big lesson learned for Carnegie. Sometimes being right just isn't worth it.
That's so true. You have to ask, what's the goal here? Just proving a fact? Or actually connecting, maybe persuading?
Precisely. That truck salesman story, Pat O'Hare, he used to win all the arguments about why his trucks were better, but he wasn't selling any.
Right. Winning the argument, losing the sale.
Exactly. So he changed his whole approach. Started saying, you know, maybe you do know more about their trucks. Tell me what you like about them. He just listened, didn't argue. Suddenly, he started making sales. Became a star salesman. He realized arguing against the competitor just made the customer defend them even more fiercely.
That's fascinating. Letting them talk themselves towards your point almost.
Right.
It's not just sales either, right? This applies everywhere.
Everywhere. Jan Pearce, the opera singer, married nearly 50 years. He said their secret pact was, when one yells, the other should listen.
Simple. Effective.
Because, as he said, when two people yell, there is no communication, just noise and bad vibrations. Avoid the argument, preserve the connection. Works at home, works at work.
Okay, so avoid arguments.
Well,
But what if? What if we're the ones who are wrong? That happens. How do we handle that gracefully?
yes. Another powerful, though maybe difficult principle. If you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. Don't hedge, don't minimize. Own it.
Oof. That takes guts. Admitting you messed up, especially emphatically, why is that so effective? It feels vulnerable.
It is vulnerable, but it's incredibly disarming. It takes all the fight out of the other person. They were maybe gearing up to tell you off, and suddenly you've done it for them. Often it makes them more understanding, even sympathetic.
Takes the wind out of their sails, kind of.
Exactly. Carnegie had this experience himself. He was walking his little dog, Rex, in the park without a leash, which was legal. A mounted policeman caught him. Right. Instead of making excuses, Carnegie immediately said, "Officer, you've caught me red-handed. I'm guilty. No excuses." The policeman, instead of getting angry, actually softened. He basically said, well, I know it's tempting, and ended up letting Carnegie off with a warning, even suggesting he let the dog run free just over the hill where he couldn't see him.
No way, just by admitting it up front.
Completely changed the dynamic. If Carnegie had argued, you can bet he would have gotten a ticket. Admitting fault appealed to the officer's sense of importance, his desire to be merciful.
That's a brilliant tactic, actually. And you see how it can work on a deeper level, too.
Absolutely. There's a story about a Chinese father who was estranged from his son for years. Culturally, the elder doesn't usually apologize first. It's a big deal. But the father broke tradition. He went to his son and emphatically, sincerely admitted he'd been wrong. That humility, that admission, it completely healed the rift, led to reconciliation, meeting his grandkids.
Wow. That takes immense courage, especially against cultural norms. But the payoff.
It shows the power of it. Think of General Lee after Pickett's charge at Gettysburg. Total disaster. He rode out to meet his retreating, broken troops, and he said, all this has been my fault. I and I alone have lost this battle. Can you imagine the commander taking full responsibility like that?
That's incredible leadership. Humility in the face of failure.
And it fostered immense loyalty, not blame. It shows that admitting fault, when genuine, builds respect, doesn't diminish it. Okay, so we avoid arguments. We admit when we're wrong. What about actually getting people excited about our ideas, making them want to do what we suggest?
Yeah, this is the crux of it for many people, right? How to influence positively, get buy-in.
This one is fantastic, and again, it taps into that core human need. Let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers.
Let them feel it's their idea. So, subtle guidance. Planting seeds.
Exactly. People are just way more invested in ideas they feel they discovered or came up with themselves. It goes back to that desire to be important, that sense of ownership. If it's my idea, I'll champion it.
Okay, I get the psychology, but how do you actually do that without being manipulative? Give me an example.
Sure. Eugene Wesson, the textile sketch salesman, remember him? Couldn't sell anything to this top New York stylist for 3 years. Kept pitching, kept failing.
Right, the guy who hit a wall.
So he changed tactics. Instead of showing his sketches and saying, aren't these great? He went in and said, basically, here are some unfinished sketches. What suggestions do you have? How could we make these better for your needs?
Asking for advice again. Like the fuel salesman.
Precisely. The stylist started making suggestions, got involved, tweaked the designs. Wesson went away, made those changes, came back. And the stylist bought dozens of them. Why? Because now they felt like his designs, his ideas. Wesson just facilitated it.
That's brilliant. He basically co-created the solution with the client, making the client the hero.
Exactly. Another one, a family trying to decide on a vacation. Dad wants East Coast historical sites, Mom wants the West. Stalemate.
Classic vacation dilemma.
So, the dad gets his daughter involved. She'd just been studying U.S. history. He sort of casually guides her towards thinking the Eastern trip sounds interesting based on her studies. Then the daughter gets all excited and enthusiastically sells the Eastern trip idea to her mom. Now it feels like the daughter's idea, and the mom buys into her daughter's enthusiasm. Dad gets his trip, but everyone feels like they chose it.
Sneaky,
Yay.
but effective. It's guiding them to reach the conclusion you hoped for, but making it feel like their own discovery.
And it works professionally, too. A hospital x-ray department head, right? Constantly bombarded by salespeople pushing equipment, totally overwhelmed. One manufacturer did something different. They wrote a letter. Didn't pitch, just asked for his advice.
There's again, advice.
Yep. Asked how their new equipment could be made more serviceable to your profession, made the doctor feel important, valued his expertise. So the doctor actually studied the equipment, thought about it, felt like he was contributing, and guess what? He ended up feeling the idea to purchase it was his own, ordered it for the hospital. The company essentially got him to sell himself on it.
He sold himself. That's the power of making it their idea. Incredible. So, wrapping this up, it's quite a collection of strategies, isn't it? From steering clear of criticism, all the way to making people feel ownership of ideas. It really is a masterclass in understanding people.
It truly is. And these aren't just, clever tricks. They tap into fundamental truths about human nature. As Carnegie emphasized, it's not just about knowing this stuff. It's about applying it, understanding different perspectives. That's where the real value lies.
Definitely. You've really distilled some profound insights here from a book that, has guided millions and still feels incredibly relevant.
It's foundational stuff for anyone wanting to improve how they connect with others.
So a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah, maybe think about this. Carnegie talks constantly about that deepest urge in human nature, the desire to feel important. Just
Okay.
carry that thought with you this week. How many interactions could you genuinely transform just by consciously looking for ways to sincerely acknowledge that urge in someone else? Not flattery, remember, but real interest, real appreciation. And maybe notice, too, how giving that genuine recognition might actually boost your own sense of connection, your own purpose. The power really lies in putting it into practice. See what happens.